Xbox has finally learned its lesson. Now, it's no secret that over the past couple of years, Xbox has had its fair share of ups and downs. Sometimes, as a fan, all you can do is just be like, what the hell is going on? What are they thinking? Have they learned nothing? Well, recent news about their upcoming high-profile first-party releases has me believing that yes, they have learned something, and better yet, Xbox is Xbox again. What's up, y'all? I'm Ray, and this is my channel, Xbox Ready, where I talk about Xbox stuff. I talk the latest news, rumors, pretty much anything I want to talk about as long as it's related to Xbox in some way. And y'all, today I woke up feeling great. I don't know what it is, something in the air. Maybe it's because I just pounded an energy drink before I started filming. Or maybe it's because I'm really feeling like Xbox is Xbox again. Specifically, in 2025, we're gonna see Xbox doing some things we haven't seen from them since 2008. Obsidian recently did this video for their 20th anniversary, and in this video, there was a tiny little bit of information that I found really interesting and very encouraging as an Xbox fan. The studio head was talking about Avowed, and he was like, yeah, in the beginning, I was really pushing for Avowed to be multiplayer, which is like, damn it, dude, like, of course they were. Of course they were. He said, one of the things where I really pushed was that Avowed was going to be multiplayer, and I kept on that for a long time. In the end, it was the wrong decision to keep on pushing it. Why I had done it was that when we were still independent and we were selling it, it was a more interesting game to publishers. And when you're asking for 60, 70, 80 million, you gotta have something interesting to talk about. Multiplayer made it interesting. But now that they're not independent, they're owned by Microsoft, they don't have to worry about pitching Avowed to other publishers in order to get funding. And Microsoft Xbox, for better or for worse, has been known to be hands-off and just give people a blank checkbook and be like, do what you want to do. Now, I know people don't really like mergers, they don't really like acquisitions, but this is a time where I think we can all agree that Obsidian being owned by Microsoft ended up being a good thing, at least for Avowed, which has ultimately spared us from another multiplayer disaster. And yes, I say disaster. Xbox needs to chill on these multiplayer titles, man. This is something that we kind of saw with Bethesda before they got bought out by Microsoft as well. Pre-acquisition, what kind of games was Bethesda focusing on? Oh, let's do multiplayer, let's do Fallout 76, let's do Elder Scrolls Online, and people are like, what the hell? Post-acquisition, their portfolio looks a lot different and skewed towards single-player experiences. But Xbox needs to chill out on the multiplayer games. I mean, they already have some really good long-standing ones, especially now that they bought ZeniMax. Fallout 76 is still going strong, Elder Scrolls Online is still going strong, which is insane to me. Sea of Thieves you can put on that list as well. But all of these other live service multiplayer games that Xbox has tried out ultimately have flopped. Redfall, flopped. Studio closed. Minecraft Legends, flopped. No longer supported. Even the ones that weren't developed by Xbox, like Crossfire X, flopped. And you know what? I'll throw in Forza Motorsport into that list as well. Because let's be honest, the single player content in that game gets old really quick. Like, look at their entire slate for Developer Direct 2023. Half of those games aren't even supported anymore. And I'm sure if you're Obsidian, you are like, yes, awesome. We can just make a single player game with Avowed. One of my friends who worked as a developer on a multiplayer title told me a little bit about his experience, and he was like, yeah, when you're working on a multiplayer game, that is pretty much the only thing you are ever going to do. Once you go multiplayer, you're pretty much, as a studio, locked into supporting that game. Now, I don't know if that was going to be the case with Obsidian and Avowed. If that's a blanket statement about everyone who works on multiplayer games, I'm glad that Obsidian is not making Avowed multiplayer, because I want them to work on other stuff, like the Outer Worlds 2, maybe another Fallout game, a sequel to New Vegas. But the situation also makes me wonder why Redfall couldn't drop the online multiplayer live service and just go single player after they were acquired by Microsoft. There were some people internally that were quietly hoping that Microsoft would cancel Redfall entirely. I really feel like Redfall, Arcane Austin, they could have benefited immensely with a pivot from multiplayer to single player. It's too late now, but seeing Obsidian take that pivot with Avowed, it says to me, at least, it says to me that Xbox is hell-bent on not repeating the same mistakes they did with Redfall, and that they're confident in the work that Obsidian is doing on Avowed. And that's an attitude that makes me feel like Xbox is returning to their roots a little bit. Sure, Xbox was a pioneer in multiplayer and online gaming with Xbox Live, but all of their games, whether it be Halo, Gears, it didn't start with a multiplayer experience. It started with a really solid single single-player, sometimes co-op campaign that was so awesome. People are like, man, it would be super sick if I could go online and play against other people in this awesome world. Nowadays, it's totally backwards. You got games like Overwatch, which are online PvP only, and the fan base is like, man, wouldn't it be cool if we had PvE or like a story mode? Xbox needs to bring it back to the basics a little bit. Give us some good, solid single-player games. They got a few multiplayer online hits already that we discussed earlier, 76, ESO, Sea of Thieves. And taking a glance at their upcoming games, it's looking like they're doing just that. Avowed, Indiana Jones, going into 2025, Fable, and of course they are bringing back Gears, baby, Gears E-Day. You can absolutely make the argument that Xbox is going back to being Xbox. Now, at the showcase they did just a couple of weeks ago, there wasn't any Halo, which was a little bit disappointing, but we saw the return of some really awesome, iconic Xbox IP, like Fable and like Gears, which is why I'm so excited for 2025. We're gonna get a new Fable game and a new Gears game. That hasn't happened since 2008, when Fable 2 and Gears of War 2 dropped in the same year, and damn, that was amazing. And both of those games fit into the criteria that I was just talking about. They had a really solid core single-player experience that you could share with your buddy. I played both of those games with my friend Jeff. Shout out to Jeff Guys. And especially Gears E-Day, man, that announcement set the internet on fire pretty much. And after E-Day was announced, they were like, yo, we're bringing back Marcus Phoenix. We're bringing back Dom, baby. Maybe we'll even see Maria in this game before, well, you know. That announcement trailer directly led to an over 300% increase in players for Gears of War Ultimate Edition. And Gears 5 ended up climbing its way to the top 40 played games on Xbox for the first time in forever. And that is a beautiful thing to see as someone who's been an Xbox fan for years, because it shows that these Xbox IPs still have power. It shows that in a world where people are obsessed with games like Fortnite and Roblox, there's still a good amount of people who are like, give me a freaking gun with a chainsaw and let me saw in half this subterranean alien looking ass. Stuff like that. Now that's the Xbox that I fell in love with. That's the Xbox that I knew and that I want them to become again. Over the past couple of years, Xbox has been like, we're a platform for everybody, man. Anyone can find something that they like on our platform. And I get why they're doing it, of course, because, well, me and my buddy were just talking about this the other day. We were like, yeah, unfortunately, Xbox fans are getting older, and sometimes when you get older, you stop playing video games, you stop buying video games, you stop buying the consoles, and that's not great when you're trying to run a business. So they're trying to cast a wide net with all of these other titles to try and grow a new audience and attract new customers. I'm not saying that they should stop doing that, but they gotta show some love to what made Xbox awesome in the first place, which is exactly what they're doing with the return of Fable and Gears of War. Xbox used to be known for making games that were just badass. It's like, hey, here's a game where it's like a bunch of dudes who are buff as hell with guns that have chainsaws on them. Is it the most logical thing to put a freaking chainsaw on a gun? Probably not, but it's awesome. Same thing with the Master Chief, right? Is it the most logical thing that this dude in full armor can jump like 12 feet in the air and throw a grenade that sticks onto people? Probably not, but it's badass. And they gotta make more games that are just badass for the sake of being badass. I was watching the OG X-Men 97 cartoon, and I'm in the arc where they're on Savage Island, and at one point they were fighting dudes like on pterodactyls flying around and having like a jousting match almost. And there was a point in time where I was like, what is going on? What's happening here? And then I was like, well, I don't really need to question that, right? Because fighting on top of dinosaurs and with mutant powers, that's just badass. Who cares? They messed around with this new IP. Some of it's worked, some of it hasn't. But the return of Fable and Gears of War and the fact that people are excited about it shows that Xbox still has some life yet. Now, can they balance that going forward? Can they offer up experiences like Gears of War E-Day that are appealing to OG fans while also churning some new IP to generate a new audience? That's going to be the big challenge for them. They've already caused a lot of division within the fandom with their choice to go multi-platform. Well, sort of multi-platform. And if they ship these iconic Xbox IP to PlayStation, like if Fable shows up, if Gears, Halo shows up, that's going to make them lose a ton of fans. Like they had their little experimental phase with the new IP, that's that's all well and good, but they need to nurture their tentpole titles, the iconic Xbox stuff, Halo, Gears, Fable, Forza. And if they do well with those titles, that can allow them to mess around and take a risk with these other projects. Like, no one would care if Redfall sucked if there was a new Gears that you can jump into right away. And that also goes hand in hand with a goal that they've been trying to execute for the past forever, having a game ship every quarter. If you release a game and people are like, this isn't really my thing, and you got a new game coming in a couple of months that's AAA quality, then they could just move on to the next thing. But they're taking too long releasing these games. It's giving people way too long to ruminate and talk about it when they should be giving people an excuse to move on. And that kind of coincides with this thing that I saw regarding this former PlayStation boss saying that in the future there should only be one console. The PS5, the Xbox Series X, and the PC, they're already kind of almost on the same level as each other, so we should just do away with platforms entirely and have one single thing. So no more PlayStation, no more Xbox, no console war thing like he was saying in this quote. We should all just come together, sing Kumbaya, and move forward. Now, on one end, that would be obviously way easier for game developers because they would only have to worry about doing one version of their game. I'm sure if you're a business, that sounds awesome. Because especially in entertainment, people don't want to sell you hardware, they just want to sell you the content. Most media, music, television, movies, they're device agnostic. But here's why, while on one end, maybe that would be a smart thing to do, Xbox gets rid of their hardware, PlayStation gets rid of their hardware, I've come to learn something over the past 3 or so years being a YouTuber, especially in this space, is that tech, especially when it comes to video game tech, well, it benefits immensely off of tribalism. Humans love being part of a group, part of a tribe, just by their very nature. And as much as I want to poke fun at console wars and brand loyalty, it is a massive factor in what drives people to buy video games and hardware. I mean, just look at smartphones, for example. How many times have you heard of people, whether online or in person, making fun of someone because they have an Android device, whether it's a Pixel, whether it's a Galaxy, whatever. People going, ew, you got green text bubbles? I don't know if I can talk to you, whether it's a joke or not, because they have an insane loyalty to Apple, to iPhones. And no matter what Apple does, those people are going to keep buying. It's kind of the same way with gaming consoles. People have a loyalty to them, people have like a personal connection to their device, and no matter how many people want to say, oh, it's just a plastic box, it's just a plastic box, that's just the way it is. And as much as I'm sure Xboxes want to be like, yeah, we want to get out of hardware, whatever, they also know their fan base, or I think they do. Xbox is kind of past this at this point because they're like, oh, we're more of an ecosystem, or more of like a, you know, any screen is a freaking Xbox. But they have to leave themselves a way to play into that tribalism, that brand loyalty, because it is a huge part of gaming culture. But more and more, we're seeing these execs being like, yeah, we should leave behind hardware, we should leave behind hardware. Hardware sucks, it's a fool's game, it's all about game publishing. Xbox seems to be leaning more into that direction, but if they abandon consoles entirely, not only would they not be Xbox anymore because there's no Xbox, but they'd be missing out on a huge population of people who crave a home console experience. Anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox stuff I have to talk about today. Thanks so much for joining me for another edition of Xbox Ready. If you like this video, if you like Xbox, if you just want to sit and chat gaming stuff, make sure you subscribe to the channel, set your notifications to be alerted whenever I post a video. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.